Greetings, this is Kal Kat, the Kal Katster. This is the preamble to the ultimate episode, season finale, series finale of Alt Transformers MUSH. And I hope they're filming momentarily. Just downloaded, just now, on the 10th, here. Just downloaded the penultimate episode, the Underground. And I'm going to continue with the Iv Bohnlein saga. The rest of the Iv Bohnlein saga, which is Revelations. Redemptions. Redemption, yes. Redemption. The Redemption is the one where Skylinks goes crazy and he's taken over space. And it's sort of an alternate universe take on the thing. Story. The original draft did not have an ending. It ended on 10 acts and stopped around a little over 130 pages. They added MC Kim or Jane Piedmont, same person, added a little bit of she's not Ariana Foster, she's Jane Piedmont. Added an ending to it. She's going to direct this one too. So she said, well, we're going to change that ending kind of back to what Bohnlein had in mind. Instead of doing that ending, because that ending is kind of cheesy, and making it a sideways universe is not really ripping Lost and X-Files. It's actually doing Lost and X-Files. So no, it's not a sideways universe. Right outside the gate, no, it's not. We're living in the sideways universe. All Transformers MUSH, it's its own sideways universe. Why have another one? And then everything that happens.
Are you gonna eat any more? No.
And everything that happened didn't happen. So yeah, I'm going to film. So I'm gonna go upstairs and start shooting. We're gonna start shooting the sequel. Transition. Retrum. Yeah, damn it. Redemption. I'm gonna start shooting Redemption, and currently, the very day that we downloaded the other episode, so it's literally back to back. It turns out Underground was 100 pages, but came out to roughly an hour. So it was shorter. So this one's probably going to be shorter too. I'm thinking it's a 2-hour movie. It might be 80 minutes. We'll see. I've set up all the characters in their placement. Also, there's some guesswork as to what was going on in the previous one involving Night Racer, and was she the one that's betrayed in the other story? What's going on with Hot Rod and Prime and all those things will be answered. I'll say right now that she's not the one that was betrayed. No, that doesn't make sense. She wasn't left behind. The Blue Night Racer had died in this timeline, and the other one's not connected to her because he's from another universe, which is why she didn't disappear. Yeah. Also, the Crystal character, the story is Axion. It was always going to be Axion, so it's Axion from the other story, the Jazzy story. So it's Axion. And she's back. Also, she has a sidekick in Kitty Balor, who was set up in another story. So Axion and Kitty Balor are up to no good. And Skylinks is evil, and he's got a sort of an evil, sort of froofy voice in the story. He's got sort of a haughty, froofy voice, and so does Axion. So, yeah. So also, instead of Galvatron, in the story, Galvatron's in it, but I think only because we put him in it. Reading the story again, it can't be Galvatron or Cyclonus, because if it's Galvatron and Cyclonus, they could end the story by defeating Skylinks. They would figure out a way. They're the Decepticon leader and Cyclonus, the second in command. No, it can't be them. It's some other Decepticons who we'll see will fit into the other story nicely. I won't give that away. If you're seeing the making of in the future, 10 days or so, you will know anyway. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that totally makes, with the one that was chosen is one that totally makes sense. They would totally, these characters that we chosen would totally do that. And that's why they were built up in the other stories. So it's not that convoluted. It's that we have building up to the ultimate episode. About 7, it turns out, about 17 or 18 episodes in. Now, full season. And Trojan of War was 7 of those episodes, so we've done another 11. And it's all, they're all interconnected, but they're all individual stories that they're telling by different authors in space. And so we're going to go do the thing, put the thing together, and begin the production of the final episode of Alt Transformers MUSH. This was the 11 or 12 best episodes and longest episodes, which we did first. There are a few other long episodes that we're not doing. We are not doing Lord of the Flies meets the Transformers. That was another long one. Because this is Lord of the Flies, but with Transformers. That's literally what it is. We're not doing Transformers meet the Borg, because that's just weird. It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. What the Headmasters fight the Borg? Then no. We're not doing the Deal of the Century sequel, which would have had, which is about an hour long. That one would have Swindle and the Combaticons doing something with Star Trek in the Ferengi in it, and that wouldn't make sense either. So there were a couple of Star Trek ones that we liked as Star Trek ones in the Lord of the Flies one, but we're not going to do those because they're just not, it would be, these are two other properties that don't really work with Transformers. Even though we've done Star Trek fan films, you'd think we would do a Star Trek Transformers crossover, but no, the action figures aren't the right scale. It's weird. It wouldn't make sense. It just wouldn't. It was like, well, would they go to Cybertron in Star Trek? They did the comic books, I guess. So enjoy your comic book version. Iv Bohnlein, the story is dedicated to, the last one was dedicated to Sean Connery at the end. There's some great lines in that story. It's really, really interesting. The dialogue seemed to work too. The idea that give Hot Rod a girlfriend, why not? But obviously it was supposed to be the Mary Sue actor. It was a proxy for the author, who just really liked Hot Rod. At least with the Springer and RC one, it's kind of the same idea. So that one was a little more brooding and dark. This one was more friendly. Yes, RC and Springer will be back in this story. Also, we have some other surprises in store. Predaking and his different Predacons were supposed to be in it. We did change that and made it just the Prime's Predaking. One guy, because there's too much going on and some other Decepticons in there, because you want to tell the finale that wraps up everything. Wraps up not only that, but Legion Maximo and Underground and all that other stuff. You want to tell that story in 2 hours. You've got 2 hours to tell it. So you either go by the route of the X-Files 2009 finale and be boring about it and have like them discussing it for 2 hours, which I wouldn't do, or you have the Lost ending where it doesn't matter, and I wouldn't do that. Or you do something entirely different that just blows them out of the water, or do something entirely different. Yeah, the story's there, the elements are there, but where do they go from there? So Crimson Order, Legion Maximo, what are those? Are they still around? Who fought them? Why did they die? Did they all die off? What happened to Sideways? Why wasn't he in the last story? We find that Sideways /twin cast. What's going on with that? Who's hiding where? Or do the body shells come into play? Do they cloaking devices come into play? All that stuff. Yes, all of the above. The story tells about it, so it's kind of in there. It's not called Leech Maximo specifically, but why not in the story just make it Leech Maximo? Because introducing a new race of underground sort of empire Cybertronians, it's the same case that we had with Space Bridge. Is like Mark's cards coming out of the set during Space Bridge and going like, why introduce a new cast of rebels when you have Decepticons? Same idea. It's like put the Constructicons in there as the 5 rebels or 6 rebels. Boom, that solves that story. It's like we know what the Constructicons are. Everyone, they don't show up in this one, but that was an example of that. I don't think they show up in this. No, they're not in there. Devastator doesn't become Devastator in this one. We've tried to avoid doing combiners in the story and just having the different Gestalt characters because it's not as interesting to show them. Combining was not in the script. We followed the scripts that were written by other people and put bylines to them. But there's no precedent for adapting fan films in the DMCA, the Little Copyright Act. Doing a parody of someone's fanfic is not copyrightable because the fanfic is a fanfic. You're doing like a fan adaptation of someone's previous works that this case being Transformers. Someone already created Transformers. Hasbro created Transformers. You're just taking the characters and making a sort of your own little fan parody thing, and you can't charge money for it. Can't get any AdSense. Can't give you any revenues and no royalties. But we can say, here is their byline. Here is your story has been adapted. And yes, there's a version of Underground out there. There's 2. There was a version done by one of Bohnlein's fans. So it's shorter than mine, than the one we did. There's also Dreamwave went there. The comic books. So clearly she had something to do with that. And, well, maybe not. Maybe they just knew her. Let's put that in there, yeah. Kind of like they did with some of the Beast Wars people. Bob Forward, Susan Blue. Susan Blue was, of course, RC from the original series. Stuff like that just kind of reappears. Yeah, the Robotechs will be back in this one. Even though they're not in the story, they can be because there's a few extra characters that would be them if they were there. How are they going to help out? How are they going to help to stop Skylinks taking over Cybertron? The Creation Makers. Is Wrath still around? No, Wrath is. It's not going to be a Wrath thing. I know that much. It's not going to be a Wrath thing. Wrath is gone. There's not a parallel universe. It's not a dream. No, we're not doing it. Yeah. Max's Carta is indeed dating Windblade. Windblade was Wiz. Very obviously Wiz. Yeah. Red Fanjet Transformer Autobot. It's Windblade. The people that made up Windblade later, loosely based on, well, a lot, not loosely, but totally based on that fanfic story from Bohnlein. Yeah, it's her. It's Wiz. Somebody commented, Wiz, I'm a Wiz kid or something. That was funny. Oh, somebody's already commented on it. Yeah, it's like, yeah, they're all for TF boards are all familiar with that Bohnlein. He's known, and they're probably going to be excited to see this come to an end. It's a Alt Transformers MUSH. A bunch of X-Geners doing adaptations of earlier X-Gener stuff. And you have people on random news channels that are my age, X-Geners, saying they're boomers when they're not as well. So you have that. Boomers are anybody born after World War II to about 1965, 45 to 65. X generation is roughly 65, 66 to 85, 86. That's X generation. So if you're about 50, you're right from 1970. That's that's X generation. Millennials, or anybody born after 86, 85, 86 to 2005, 2006. Those are millennials. So those are millennials. Post-millennials, millennials are Y-Me generation. And then you come to post-millennials, who are children. After 2005, roughly to 2025. So, post-millennials. No, they don't have a name yet. So. Anyway, it's only 2020. So, yeah, they sort of have a name. The Fortnite generation, I guess? Not the Pokemon generation. No. If you look back and said the Pokemon generation, that would probably be millennials. They would also be the Ninja Turtles generation. And Power Rangers generation. Not so much Transformers, but Transformers did come back by 2007. It's hard to believe that, like 30 years ago, we did Till All One in the Final Adventure. And it was the dark ages of Transformers. There was nothing new. It was nothing new. There was just Transformers. Some of them were kind of crappy, overpriced, crappy. And the Pretenders, they sucked. That kind of thing. The Japanese were doing some new ones, but we didn't know about those back then. And it was the age before just the beginning of the internet, so just you didn't know anything about that stuff. And the Final Adventure, it was like the Dark Ages of Transformers, what's the 1990s? So this Alt Transformers MUSH is a love letter to, not a Dear John letter, a love letter to the fans that kept that MUSH thing alive, going on in the 90s, before Beast Wars, and then into when Beast Wars started. Because this is 97, the Bohnlein stories are 1997, 98, roughly. And those were those. And mainly in the 1990s, our time for transformable robot stuff. But not so for Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers, which had taken off at that point. But Transformers specifically did not come back until Beast Wars, and they completely reinvented the franchise in 1995. But it seemed like an eternity. Those like 5 years ago. Trans 2 were going on over here. And MC Kim directed City That Time Forgot, which was 1996. City That Time Forgot, 1996. That was that. Oh, that was hard. Yep. So we have, and that was also a story that was up on there, the boards. Of course, we're not going to do our story again. We've done that with Space Bridge. The Space Bridge saga was some of those stories again, repeated. And of course, Transtech, Transformers meets Robotech, is the original version. And that's, penultimate. So, there you go. Yeah. And then the ultimate. So, the future of Transformers. Also, there was some story conservation about using some of those short stories. We're not sure what we're going to do with those yet. There are many of them. We have dozens of them. A couple dozen of them. Maybe more of short stories. Not sure if they're adaptable or not, but there are some good ones. We will see. I don't know if there's a second season, but if there was, it would probably be more like second season movies using some of those elements. Maybe a Robotech, the Sentinels type of thing. Maybe. See, it wasn't to set up for a sequel. We were just being silly. What would that look like? We don't have Invid and stuff. We have like 3 ancient Invid troopers and a bunch of very old Veritechs that if we brought them out would fall apart very quickly. And we have Beast Wars. And they said, well, there's some Beast Wars ones that are like 40 minutes or so. You could do some Beast Wars ones. Most of those toys weren't very good. They didn't last. The G1 ones kind of lasted a little bit. And the Armada era in 2002 to 2005, and then the Michael Bay era, they were considerably better built. So we have the Beast Wars figures. It's just that only some of them are in any good, decent shape. Primal Prime and Transmetal Prime and some of the other ones, they handled up all right because they weren't played with, really. But yeah, a story with Primal Prime in it. I mean, why? Like, what's he gonna do? Just show up and tell stories of times long past or something? So that could be a Robotech thing, could be a G.I. Joe thing. I don't know. We'll see what happens. We haven't seen any humans this season, which was hilarious. We didn't get to do that. So, anyway, this has been your behind the scenes. Let's get to the movie. Let's get to the final episode. Transformers MUSH. Yeah, so there was a dark time. I thought it was over in 1991. It's weird. Little did we know. It's not over. It will never die. Autobots were forever. Clang. As well as slash fiction. Transformers. Alive and well.
So, on the set here, still the 11th, still day 2, set up for day 3, this is day 2. Yeah, this is a slight revision of the Cybertron scene when Magnus and them arrive. Instead of it being another Magnus and them in another timeline, it's actually them. They went to the space bridge and came there and arrived there right after them. So, yeah. Which makes sense. Like then you don't have to have the convoluted mess of having like, well, they did more time warps and blasts and came through, and you don't have to do that. You can just say, oh, they followed. Yeah, they're here around the same time. It's a little bit later, a little bit of time has passed, and they followed them. So they came too. Because yeah, the space bridge door was open, but that doesn't mean the space bridge was destroyed. The door was open. Yeah. So anyway, so yeah. 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 So basically, if I wasn't recording that, the space bridge door scene, apparently Magnus comes to Cybertron, and that's what this next scene is. I mean, we're just gonna do that instead of it being a different Magnus in a different timeline, which doesn't make sense. Yeah. That's the gist of it. So this makes sense. Real brief quickity, day 2 here. On the set, 12th of November. Use her script. Only the script. We're using the script. They're building a space bridge on the ship that they got from the planet, and they're rig it up to do a time travel experiment. In this story, she does the time travel experiment, and they go back and prevent Skylinks from doing everything millions of years in the past. That would create a paradox and a Mary Sue and a sideways universe. All kinds of drama would occur there. So the changes to the timeline will not be quite that dramatic. It's more like they bring someone from the space bridge timeline to assist them instead. They think they're going to change the timeline, but what they do is they bring someone to assist them, other than their friend they're going to meet. And he brings this person forward. It's in the script, kind of like that, so I'm just going to hit it home a little better. Yeah, so that's what's going to happen. And then, because we don't want it to be like, it's all a dream. It's a time warp dream thing. We don't want to do that. We kind of did that with the Wrath episodes. It was like another dimension where the Wrath is. It's just not the Wrath going on here at all. It's all tied in though to the Liege Maximo, Liege Centurio, the Space Bridge planet, and the Wrath is tied in there, but it's not going to be a planet they go to. It's something else, which you'll soon see what's going on. He can't change space and time. It's just evening the entropy. They're not really changing destiny. They're kind of putting it back where it was supposed to be. Skylink should not have gone crazy and taken the creation matrix. So they're kind of reversing. How would they do that? Yeah, so we'll find out. Yeah. Okay, this is Kal Kat, the Calicaster. MC Kim is off camera. Wink. Filming episode that reveals a lot of the whole series. Right in this first 23 minutes or so, 23 pages or so. Adaptable to a half an hour in the story. We've come to realize some characters have come and gone and transferred each other's essence, done some symbiote things similar to Star Trek, but not really because we thought of it first. We didn't think of it. Iv Bohnlein did. There are characters in this that behave like Rakshi and Chas and some of the others, so why not make them? They weren't hers initially. We also have Windblade, who is hers, but as in here is known as Wiz. So we call her Windblade in this one, but she thought of it first as Wiz. and it's the same character. So we have. Well, actually, of course, is Night Racer. We have some interesting twists here in the story that reveal some things that some characters from last episode, I should say, died, didn't. Their sparks went on to be in other people, and it kind of makes sense. It's a little weird and convoluted, but it kind of makes sense. Well, they're sort of carrying the vessel of the other robot. The Galvatron Megatron scene, it's in good hands scene, gag. That is a reference to the Wrath. But they're not in the Wrath. Now, the Wrath has been destroyed, but the essence of what made up that sort of entropy bending world was imparted on one of the Transformers. And I bet you can guess which one at this point this is making of. It's not Megatron, and it's not Prime. It's not the two Primes. They were Sport, and the two Primes were Sport and Draconis, as you know, but they were turned into Hot Rods, and they were turned into Hot Rods and Maxis Carta, and Maxis Carta Hot Rod and the other Hot Rod. We have Optimus Prime, who is not quite sure who he was, and he's not in this scene. He was in the scene earlier, but we're saving him for later. But he's Cyclonus is not in the story at all. We had to change that, but it's better that it's the Megatron from this timeline because it makes more sense. So there were some liberties done with the story. Also, we kind of changed some things back. It's time travel, but it isn't. It's a storybook, but it isn't. It's still clearly Iv Bohnlein's story of the time travel element. The whole let's prevent the thing from millions of years ago from happening. Not saying millions of years in this case. It's an entropy thing. Skylink's messed with the current timeline. It's less confusing that way. So he's messed with 2020 to make it different than it played out originally. It's all tied in, and it's not that convoluted. And Chassis is back. She's apparently inhabited the Chas. Has inhabited the body of her ancestor. Moon Racer. And it's funny because that is the Moon Racer from that played Chas in that Wrath Planet story. So it's not that they're in the Wrath, they're not. It's that she's her. Also, can you guess what the good hands of the Autobot is? It's one of the Autobots. I think you can pretty much guess who it is that has the vessel that's carrying what's left of Wrath. Is a nod to Trans, and Trans 2 is, it's Jetfire. It's got to be Jetfire. I mean, who else would, If it's somebody else, that would make sense. Yeah, so that's who it is. He's got the essence, which makes sense because if an Autobot took it, it would only be ambition. It would mess with him. Another part of him is in Skylinks, because Skylinks has ambition, but tenfold because he's got the Matrix. So they both have it, Skyfire and Skylinks. Yeah, so there's going to be a boss fight at some point. This is the end of basically episode 1 of what amounts to 100 and some pages of story. That would translate to roughly 5 episodes, I guess, that are half an hour long. But the last one came out to 56 minutes, 55 minutes, and we thought it was going to be over an hour. It wasn't. It was under an hour. I thought it was going to be like 80 minutes. This is probably going to be about 90 minutes altogether. It's not going to be. We don't want to make it much longer than it needs to be. I don't think it's going to be 2 hours. But if it is, famous last words. But it'll be awesome all the way through. It'll be awesome. Get all the characters doing things. We've added a little bit of that other stuff to tie it into the other stories. But instead of putting it on the very beginning, put it in the narrative. So you get through the narrative where it fits. And that's an interesting way to do it, because you say, whoa, in the corrosion war angle, okay, I wondered about that guy. They'll say, I wondered about what happened to that guy. Oh, yeah. What happened to Grimlock? Oh, there he is. So yeah, they're on Iacon, but they know basically. Yeah, they're on Iacon. They're on the Autobot base, but they know that the Autobots and Decepticons are aware that they all came from the Titan ships. And they're all aware that they came from the Decepticon and the Autobot Titan ships that left the space battle at Sarpedion 6. So they're all aware of what they're doing. But Skylynx is not yet aware of what they're doing. So they're all aware. They're just kind of a little amnesiac, and they're kind of acting like it's a surprise for some of them, because some of them passed out, some of them woke up again. There's a little bit of the Gabriel Kwan exosuit thing with the cloaks, the displacer cloaks, which are just exosuits with a holographic stealth technology on them. There's a little bit of that in there. It's not that they don't recognize each other. It's that their minds are a little bit messed up because of what's going on. Which in the case of the one or two psychology students that wrote some episodes back in the day, they would like that too, which is awesome. Yeah, so not a psychologist, obviously. No, more of an educator. Anyway, so yeah, I'm not a psychologist, but yeah, Sunday school. Anyway, Kal Kat was a Sunday school, but it's kind of funny. Probably could have guessed that from all the knowledge. Yeah. So, yeah. Here we have a bunch of Transformers doing stuff that what it's done for the evening. It is getting right, and we've knocked out what amounts to what if we have. How many pages are there? We have 100 pages, 140 pages. So 140 pages. So we knocked out 25 roughly. So of 140. Well, of 25 of 100 would be 1/4 of it. So this is about 40 more would be another 1.5 roughly. So yeah, 1/6 of it. Yeah, I was still on track though. Yeah. It always goes quicker with the other chapters now that we know what's going on. We know what's going on and finish it. So that's all I gotta say about that so far. Yes, Chess is back. So yes, I like that our story is able to put a lot of plot threads together that we're going through the whole series. If you watch the whole thing from beginning to end, there's little tidbits in there, little snippets, very X-Filesy because X-Files. Yes, we were Star Trek and X-Files fans, and also they thought of stuff we thought of, same wavelength. You could even say there's at least 1 or 2 episodes back there. It's Mark's Cards X-Files episode. It's too bad that he's not on the set, but the COVID, he can't come on the set and watch this. But he can watch the episodes. He's watched some of them so far, not all of them. But there's 17 so far, so it's quite a lot to watch. 7 of those were Corrosion War Without End, so the remaining 16. But yeah, so we wanted to make it not like the X-Files, but we liked the idea of them planting different seeds and stories and plots and subplots and things in there, and the way a sci-fi fantasy mystery series does it, and putting all that in there, and it's in there, and it actually comes to a satisfying conclusion, and you're like, I like the idea of the finale saying, we actually remembered these threads. We didn't drop them. We didn't say it's like Mulder and his sister. His sister like dies 3 different ways because we forgot. Really, just forgot. I told Jay Skrinsky, just go with the first one. The early internet. No. Don't have her be Starlight. No. That's stupid. Or have the kid, Scully's baby, be like an alien or something. It's just stupid. Don't do that. It's like, that's just dumb. Well, he's an alien messiah. Yeah, it's really stupid. Apparently, Okay. No, he didn't want to hear that. But yeah, but in this one, it's like, yeah, we were gonna bring back Chas somehow or another. I'm not sure how that's gonna stay. I don't think Moonracer wants to be possessed. That's bad. I'm assuming that she will end up somewhere else, and that Megatron will get his marbles back, and that Jetfire will get his marbles back, because you can't have a demigod inside you. It'd probably blow your mind. Space demigod. Yeah. So. Yeah, and it's very similar to Trans, the original series, which you'll never see a version of. This is the version of it. Trans Tech, Space Bridge, and Alt Transformers MUSH is a remake of the whole Trans saga, and this is all the fan stories that came along with it. So the MUSH is all the fan stories, and yeah, so yeah, we didn't want to disappoint the fans, so every little plot thread is every little plot threads are good. All the plot threads are good. So we're going to end this now. Hello again. Note that in the script, the on page 48 is where Sideways / Edward / Gorg completely leaves the story. What happened to him? It's gone. Never mentioned again. This is the story. Never mentioned again. Yeah, we're gonna have to do something with that. We're not going to have him continue on into the rest of the story, because he's not the other guy. He's not the guy that appears later. He isn't. Crystal walks out of the story 3 pages later on page 51 and is presumed dead until page 81, in which she's mentioned again, and then 88 and 87 and 88 and 90 she's mentioned again, but then doesn't really reappear until 138. So something happened to her too, right after the other thing is revealed. Yeah, so the idea is that they reveal some of the spy craft they shouldn't be revealing, and that it's not in the script, but it should be. Something happened to him. It's the finale. Why introduce a new character? We're not introducing, we're using older ones. So we'll follow the script, and I'll figure out a way to off them. That'll make sense. So later on when they reappear, well, she reappears later, but he doesn't. So, yeah, so the characters, they something happened to them. They just walk out of the story, they're never mentioned again. It's all that other stuff about the Earth Defense Force and the SHIELD. Yeah, and my mentioning earlier the Final Adventure, that was because of this scene, which was going to mention the Final Adventure. She references Trans in here. The Earth Shield from Trans and Carta and all that. So she read the Carta stories that were posted on the board and said, oh, that's canon with Transformers. That's cool. We'll put that in there. So she didn't directly say Carta, but it's clearly what she's talking about. Yeah. And then the Underground is referenced in there. Of course, because that was hers. But anyway, so yeah, we'll go on.
Yeah, so not really making of, but what I did is I changed it being Max's Carta and Windblade to Optimus Prime and Alita. Alita, who doesn't really have much to do in this movie. So this scene will be a scene that she has something to do with. Anyway, that's it. So now we're gonna show what they did after meeting with them. We're gonna cut to them. And still rolling. Actually, no, I'm gonna pause it. Okay. This scene was originally Max's Carta, 61, Max's Carta and Alita, till about page 63. Now it's not. Now it's Prime and Alita, instead of Max's Carta and Windblade, because it makes more sense that it's those two. And, yeah, I know the script is different, but there's no other scenes for Alita, so I thought, no, we should do something with these two. Where'd they go? Yeah. Otherwise, it's a continuity error, and we don't know what he was doing. So now we're going to find out what he was doing. So, yeah, cool. So, yeah, it actually makes sense to break up some of the dialogue that was otherwise just the two of them talking and reminiscing, because it was a KS story with Hot Rod in it. Hot Rod and clearly the author. Yeah. So in this case, you're kind of saying, well, no, it's these are older friends that are discussing something. It makes a lot more sense that it's them and not Hot Rod. Yeah, so let's do that. Yeah.
So, brief note. Because there was some changes to the script. The Bohnlein character was trying to add some of her knowables to the story. some backstory from two of the other authors who couldn't confirm. So I kind of changed that a little bit because I didn't want to have to find a way to acknowledge this other character. So that would be impossible. It's 17 years later. The character of Gwyn is someone that's really obvious here. Earlier on was said that in the story. Well, you're watching it now. This is making of, right? You're watching the making of. Is going to reveal things. It was earlier revealed that Chaz was not Rakshi. That Rakshi was someone else, and that she just kind of made that up. Sort of. She's more of a jazzy character. She's more of this other character. This is sort of harkening back to that. She is emulating her because she has some of her memories, because she was part of the other two in their relationship, and she just absorbed the memories and became kind of like a Trill host thing on Star Trek, kind of like that. She was able to the memories of the other robot and use them. But yeah, it's Rakshi. Gwyn is Rakshi. So just that's who that is. So that also explains why the Axian character was upset. She didn't know why she was upset. She thought that she was actually her nemesis / friend, her frenemy from years ago, because she was playing her. She was pretending to be the other girl. She was pretending to be the other girl. But really, it wasn't her at all. It was actually her adoptive space daughter. She didn't know that at the time. But actually, no, it was Gwen. It was never, she was never Chas. Rakshi was never Chas. Rakshi was Gwen. So now we know the name of that character. That's pretty obvious. It isn't yet revealed here to the characters, though, in the story, in the scene. Okay, done for the evening. It's 8 o'clock on Friday the 13th, fourth day of filming. We did about 25 minutes of footage, 25 pages of footage. It's about 30 minutes. That's pretty much it. I have nothing else extra. I did change a few scenes around with the dynamic of the couples that are in it, just to give Will Springer a few scenes, because he doesn't really have hardly any. Give some of the other ones a few scenes, because it can't just be about Hot Rod. It's got to be about Max's Carta and the other one in RC. And it makes sense that some of the scenes were a little changed from the story in order to make it more interesting and make things happening here and there, back and forth. Also making Optimus Prime show up in the middle of that with Alita is kind of a cool idea instead of doing the other two. So that. Next scene tomorrow, we're going back to Max's Carta and Windblade discussing things. It was also curious that in the script, in the story, the two EDC characters, the Crystal and the other, walk out of the story as 40. He walks out as a 48. She walks out as a 51. It's not mentioned again. Presumed dead by 60 something. So I was like, well, that didn't make sense. You just forgot about it. I guess there was also a scene later on where there's going to be some shuttles showing up, but that doesn't need to be in there. Implying that he left, but he didn't say he was leaving. So no, in this version he died. We're not going to see him again. And also Bohnlein never ended the original story. Anyway, that's what you got so far. They'll find a way to make it all come together fluidly. It's not a different universe. It's not a dream. It's not a sideways universe, clearly. And we revealed some characters and things you already know, and that's it for tonight. This is the first of making of brief. This is going to be real brief. I just want to get through it. But not through it in the sense that we're rushing it. We're not rushing this at all. In fact, it's a day late and a dollar short. Fourth day of day 5. So we have there's a mention of bunny ears in here. That's a reference to Kitty Key. But it's not really. It's sort of a reference to somebody else. In this version, it's Kitty Key they're talking about. But in the other version, Kitty Key actually met Bunny Ears in 2019 at Fanime. There's a Bunny Ears picture and everything. The Bunny Ears from 2019 was a robotic bunny ears last year. An all black costume, space costume with the bunny things sticking up and everything. It was a Bunny Ears. It was a classic game Bunny Ears from that they've been reinventing for the past 20 years. So they had a version of her, and it was awesome. I know it's a deep fake in-joke reference to Playboy magazine as well, but this character was clearly not done up sensually, just like a Playboy bunny. She was more like a robot that looked like a bunny. It was Bunny Ears though. It was the same thing. There was also a show back then. There was a number of other things in the late 90s, early 2000s. There was the internet memes and things. There was a thing. There's a lot of backstory. There's 2 online shows that were parodying Bunny Ears back in the day. Loosely based. Bunny Ears is loosely based on the Looney Tunes characters and stuff from Animaniacs. Basically, that's where they got it, and that goes back to Looney Tunes, so Merry Melodies and that. But yeah, so it's more based on that Warner Brothers type of idea. Indirectly, yeah, it's sort of a spoof. But then they spoofed the spoof. They came up with a show called Happy Tree Friends that was on Newgrounds and other websites where the bunnies would get horribly killed, and that was the joke. Then a guy called David Lovelace, no relation to David, the original trans character at all. One of my nephews, no relation, who created retarded animal babies in response and decided, the animal babies should be obnoxious and retarded. They were both spoofing South Park at the time, but also Bunny Ears. So we have this weird sort of, and then it goes full circle because later on South Park made up the raccoon guy and a bunch of other things and the raccoon friends and everything. They were really spoofing that. There was also a show called The Raccoons in the 80s, but that isn't what they were spoofing. They were spoofing the Happy Tree Friends. So there's all these spoofs of spoofs of spoofs of spoofs. Finally to the synergy of 2019 in which, of course, she merged with something like Iron Man from Marvel and became an all-black suit, Bunny Ears, battle-armored, tall bunny rabbit thing. Yeah, we're presuming that also bunnies mate ferociously, but I did not see any of that. But there is a picture somewhere of Kal Kat posing with the Bunny Ears. I don't think he was in a Kitty Key costume. I think it was in a Kirk outfit or something like that, or Picard. I think it was just some sort of a Star Trek outfit that day. It just happened to be. She came in and out a couple of times. Was she either at the Fanime or Comic-Con? I think it was Fanime, but it might have been Comic-Con. San Jose Comic-Con. I think it was Fanime, though. If we're wrong, look back at the old dailies. Oh, well. But anyway, that's where Bunny Ears comes from. So Kitty Key is sort of honoring Bunny Ears by being a little dude with the little wings that look vaguely like ears. So that's what kind of synergy of Bunny Ears. Day 5. Yeah. So.
First, second unit, and we are still rolling with basically the soap opera scene that makes the middle act. It's the dialogue that brings all the characters together. With the two, it had to be Max's Carta and Windblade in this case, because that's what this is, and it had to be revealing that yes, he was intimate with Draconis, and she was intimate with. Well, we knew she was with Windblade, but if Windblade was intimate with what's her name, but the other Night Racer, we knew that. So yeah, but we didn't know he was. It's confirmed. Yes, he was in fact lovers with him. And now that he's turned into Hot Rod, then actually it'd be like twincest, because yeah, polygamous robots. So they're bi, but they're into each other, and they're into chicks or the opposite sex. So basically, and they just denounced an earlier line where he had mentioned, oh, they're just pretending to be different genders and stuff. Then he says, no, that's not true. I didn't mean to say that. So I was like, okay. Okay, this is going to be the spaceship scene. 2 different ships. Spaceship scene, alright. Spaceship Scene. Not Technobots, I changed it. It's some of the Autobots from the other scenes, and some of the Decepticons from the other scenes. And note that Megatron is not with them in this scene, because it has to be Galvatron. Makes more sense. Okay, so yeah. Yeah, so. Okay, so we're going to do that. Do this. So this will be slightly revised from the other script, because Galvatron didn't go outside to rescue them from space. We couldn't possibly have filmed that. So he shot the other shuttle, which is in the script too, but we did it a different way. So here is the scene. This is the medbay scene, and yeah, that's what we're going to do.
So, yeah, glorious day of filming on the set. That's MC Kim. So, yeah, sure. On the set of the movie, and this is the second tape that's the second camera being used up for this. Yeah, it looks like, well, it is 8 o'clock, so we will have another day of filming. We'll go to a day 6, have a day of filming, similar to what we did with some of the earlier stuff. So we'll go to a day 6, and it'll be Sunday, and we will wrap up the movie tomorrow on Sunday, because we only have about 30 pages left. We're now at 118 roughly. I think there's 148, so that's, yeah, 30 pages. The last 15 of those are the Jane Piedmont version of the story. I recall that actually back in the day in the series, though, that was actually MC Kim writing as Jane Piedmont. So it's just her doing it. Some elements have been changed with the spaceship part and the other stuff. The shuttle part's pretty much the way it was. The sickbay part, I kind of melded the two scenes in the sickbay together so they'd be in the same spot and discussing what they were going to do next, so that they didn't have to go in and out of the sickbay and then come back and do that. I thought, what if happens if they bring the patient in? It's the last patient. They bring him in and he's freaking out. That makes sense. It's like, okay, hospital bay scene. And we have a full hospital bay scene, right? So yeah, so we did that. So we have, because why not just do the whole scene instead of two separate scenes with an interlude where they leave to go somewhere else and then come back to the sick bay. So the other Dinobots are not in it, so it's just Grimlock, little Grimlock freaking out. It's not very scary, but in the original it was all the Dinobots doing stuff, which they wouldn't have been able to handle anyway. So it's not that, so Galvatron could just pick him up because he's really big, because he's this little Grimlock. But they got it. So anyway, so we have another day of filming in the can, from roughly, page 68 to 118. That's pretty good. It's 40 pages altogether. So so 68 to 118. That's over 40. That's it's like 60 to 11. That's 6 to 11, 50 pages, something like that. Yeah, 50 pages. So far this is day 5, Saturday the 14th, the bunny ears is kitty. But he doesn't have bunny ears; he has cat ears. But originally, the original character had bunny ears. But yeah, the Grimlock, the virus is attacking them. There was a virus in the story all through the timeline. And coincidentally, there was also the Earth pandemic that was really going on, preventing us from having a cast doing this video. It's all pretty much Kal Kat doing all voices as his different characters. And so this is the 17th or 18th episode, somewhere around that. And first 7 were Corrosion, and the rest were these new episodes that were also in the same timeline, the same mush. We've gone over that, this was day of filming. I'm not going to ramble on about other stuff and the book and the series and the thing. There will be post-alludes and conventions and things like that, I'm sure. discussing the characters and what they were doing, and if any of them are still around or stuff like that. It's evident from I don't know if it's who Ivy Bohnlein ended up marrying, if she ended up getting married, but if it is, then the story was not ended because they probably, the other original person, they broke up. That's probably what happened. It wasn't the person she ended up with. That's why the story has never ended. She broke it off with the guy that's the main character that was their inspiration for Hot Rod. But in this version, they didn't break up. In this version, they get back together. This version is a little different. This version has an ending. The other version didn't because they broke up. Yeah, so this Transformer fantasy was devastated by the leaving of the dude from the other timeline, which is interesting. I was noting that that's probably what happened. Yeah. I also noted that the allegedly. I also noted the penchant of the. I was gonna ramble, but then I decided I won't ramble. Why go into that? The whole soap opera kind of idea, them talking about their lives and stories. I don't know. Well, what they talk about is interesting. Giving Transformers human personalities, making the two things, the gender thing, giving them personalities, putting them in the story. Fans of Transformers know better than Michael Bay did. And when he started doing newer stuff, it was like, he kind of didn't know what he was doing. He really didn't. They kind of had that problem with the G.I. Joe, which was the other show as well. They didn't really know what to do with the characters. So they made different things happen with them that shouldn't have. Destro being wrong, and Cobra Commander being the brother of Baroness. That's not the case. So that kind of stuff. So in this one, things were wrong too. Like, none of the Transformers having any personalities in the Michael Bay movies. Optimus Prime kind of having one. Starscream seemed disappointed for no reason. Other stuff like that didn't really make any sense. Bumblebee was better. They did that run right. Travis Knight directed that one. So this is one of the Bohnlein stories. It's similar to the Bobby Carruthers story. It's similar to the other stories. I remembered what it was. If there was some sort of a revenge thing going on, girls are better at that than boys. They hold a grudge far longer than boys. Yes, they do. By and large, it's generally speaking, I guess. It typically starts in the junior high schoolyard, or even earlier than nowadays, with a couple of girls not liking one girl, and it goes on to when they're in high school, and could go on longer than that. They'll hold a grudge. Whereas if there's a bully dude fights another dude in junior high, they forget about it afterward. Especially if the bully dude gets humiliated. He doesn't want anybody to know what he was up to in high school. Because they know that, back in junior high, he was humiliated. So the guys just don't go on about it. But the girls, they hold a grudge. They remember. They're like, So there's this little subplot in the story here that definitely goes along those lines. Also the Bakshi thing, the other stuff, the characters, all coming together toward a catharsis. And of course Galvatron not really wanting to lie, but knowing what he's doing in the background and catching Skylinks off camera. That's actually in the script. I didn't film it like that. They capture him off camera. And having that happen. We haven't filmed that scene yet, but when we do, to figure out how he's gonna get to Windblade and injure her. I guess he does that at one point in the story. I guess he breaks out because he is he's like a Titan. He's a mini Titan. He's a shuttlecraft ship thing. probably just breaks out. Which they kind of did in that Star Trek Picard show when they had the bad guy get out and didn't really explain it. They kind of did. There was a bad guy in it, and these two girl robots helped him. And one of them was betrayed by him, and then they killed her. And the other robot killed her to get the guy out. Similar in this story. I think Picard show might have read this story. There's a similar scene in there, so very similar. But then they would have had a grudge. See? But yeah, Megatron can't be hit. Originally, it was going to be Cyclonus and not Galvatron, and it was going to be like a smaller size difference going on. But we don't have. I don't know where the Cyclonuses went. One of them got decimated. Couldn't use that one. We could have ordered another one in the month or so between these two episodes, but didn't. And it's better with brother Galvatron's brother anyway. The Galvatron brother of Megatron anyway. It's better with that. Because then you have a tie-in directly to Corrosion of War and closing that story arc. So Corrosion of War directly, yeah, so that kind of works better, I think. Yeah, because this story is its own thing. It's not the version of this story that's out there. The Underground as well. It's not really that. It's the Kal Kat version of the Underground story. It's not really that. And if you want to see the other version of the crazy Dinobots slash Underground slash one of the other stories. No, that's not it wasn't Dinobots. It was a crazier version of the Wrath story, where the Grimlock is in charge and stuff. You can go find that on MGO, the Freaking Geek MGO 314 website. You can look through all the older videos. The one where he did his 300,000th video, he did a version of Genesis Fading the Wrath story, not Genesis Fading Memories, the Wrath story. He did a Wrath episode. He had the Grimlock brothers show up, the other timelines, and they're like arguing and stuff. He did his own little, I think it's an hour, but it's awesome. So kind of the inspiration for this Transformers MUSH thing. He was one of the MUSH people, so yeah, cool. I think we have an MGO story somewhere around there. It's a short story. But yeah, it's probably him. But yeah, we'll have to see. I don't know what happens with the short stories later. I don't know what we're going to do with those. These were all 1 hour epics. Each one a theatrical movie fan film. So yeah, we did way more than they anticipated. And so yeah, so far it's awesome. So far we're going on to do another day of filming because we want to make sure that it's awesome right away. And there are no reshoots and uptakes. Cross the fingers, there will be no reshoots or uptakes. This will be awesome. There were sort of off-camera bloopers. None of them funny. Don't bother even looking for them. They were like, oh, the guy fell over. There were no bloopers. So.
Okay, page 112 to 113. Skylink's attacking in the brig. They're not in the same shot. They're obviously not in the same shot. There's a force field. And he's like, he would be like way bigger than they were. So yeah, it's like, okay. So yeah, we have to cheat to the scene a little bit here. So let's wrap up the movie. Let's do this. This is a scene that reminiscent to the other one. We couldn't find anything on whether Bohnlein was actually smitten for somebody and wrote this story as a Mary Sue or not. Probably, loosely. Anyway, so we're going to shoot it. Oh no! This is 128. This is the end of Iv Bohnlein's story. But not the end of the story, because we have the MC Kim Jane Piedmont version tacked on the end for a couple of pages. And now the universe is going in a different direction. So, yeah. Well, we'll see where that goes then. Okay, so we're gonna go right into her dialogue because yeah, this scene does go in there. But yeah, we're gonna have to address Rakshi's problems. other things, but we can do that with the dialogue, I think. Also, I think you want to... The silly Beast Wars tie-in at the end, don't do that. And how they resolve it doesn't really match what she's doing. I think she intended for there not to be an ending, with them just realizing they're in another universe. I don't want to do that, though, because all this time, with all Transformers fans mush, it's got to have an ending. So.
Alt Transformers MUSH. Mush. This is Kal Kat's turn. Just wrapped principal photography on the series Alt Transformers MUSH this season finale, and got a cast thing at the end. They're not dead; they just got knocked out. We didn't bother setting them all up because it's not symbolic of anything. Yeah. So this is the 6th day. Caught up to the rest of the footage, and did make the ending more similar to the one on Lexicon, which is closer to Iv Bohnlein's original ending. I don't think she intended to have an ending originally. Didn't end it. She said she didn't end it. She just wanted them to talk things out and then not have an ending. But we felt that you got to have an ending. You don't have a season finale story be the season finale and have them not end it. Doesn't make sense. Hold on a minute. So yeah, we have okay, so yeah, we have the set about to fall on the camera. The ending of the Iv Bohnlein story. This is redemption. We finally got to redemption. All season to get to redemption. Looks like with all the other Easter eggs at the end, which gives us a couple of different things to play with. You can take any ending you want, really. It's cool that we get to show at least different versions of each in there, closer to what the Mush would have done, and the other 3 authors that she was inspired by as well. Having them, and they didn't really write much stuff. The other 3 authors that she mentioned, in fact, aren't even among the 100 or so files that were saved. Many of them very short stories. I think maybe one of them is, maybe 2. But yeah, the others not so much. Yeah, we couldn't mention them because they're not in this. They mentioned, also to the refrain being that. Wiz, or her character of Wiz, and the character of Jazzy are very similar. The Jazzy character, who called herself Jazzy, and she was Jazzy. Wiz is very similar. Also, she's very similar to the RC character in the other one. So they kind of expressed that in the story, in a way. We have in the end, the whole the stories coming together. We have everybody getting kind of together. Yeah, we sort of have a there was always a setup for what the Draken is to make out. It isn't that he's making out with Sport though. There's really get clear. He's making out with Max's Carta, who has been transformed into a younger version of doppelganger of him. He's kissing his double. He's kissing himself. That's what's going on. He's actually him. He realizes that at the last minute. Another universe's version of him. It's a little convoluted, but a little fun. Also, we have the Mark's card suggestion of a Battleship, and Battleship is in it. Battleship is with Octobertone instead of the other guy, and we get to set up their thing, and their story arc ends in this one. They don't die because that's dumb. In fact, all of the characters who are transgendered or gay or bi or whatever, they all survive all the way to the end, all the way and they're alive. And the straight ones are mostly alive too. The lady robot's plan was to, I guess, her plan was a little fuzzy even in the story. What her deal was, crystal steel. They didn't really go there. I think what happened was what's likely is that she was a friend of hers that then got wind of the story and said, or a friend of me, as they call it now, in front of me. And she's all, you don't want it, yeah, don't have it end with my character doing anything because it's messed up. Or they became friends later and they forgot about it or something. Whereas in this version, I sort of go there, but I sort of tweak it a little bit so show she's there, but she's not finished. Well, she's finished. Yeah, the other guy. There was also a dark version of the other guy. There was going to be a scene where I filmed it, but it's not going to be in there, and it's not going to be an outtake either. Well, I could put it in the... No, I better not put it in the outtakes. It's messed up. There's a scene in which Beast Mix shoots himself. To be all angsty and stuff. He's like, I can't take it anymore. And I thought, it's a little too dark. Yeah, that'd be considered an outtake, I guess. That's just too messed up. No, don't do that. That's too 90s. Yeah, this is 2003 that these series was. So we can't really do that. The story, though, the whole series, the whole season, is taking place in 2020. It's now near the end of 2020 in November. And I'm going to put this together and make the finale, season finale of the series. No plans yet to do any other of the movie episodes. There are other stories. These were the 17 or 18 best ones. Doing any of the other ones would be, and 7 of those were of course Rob Powers, which does beg the question. Rob Powers and Rob Jung did write other stories, so Rob Jung, would they end up getting some of their short stories in the next season? Well, yeah, they probably would. I think also we have some of the others that came back, but not Bohnlein, and not Carruthers, and not the other, and not Jazzy, and not Belinda Kelly. Belinda Kelly did come back for that second Andraxis 2 that she happened to write, so I shot it because it was awesome, and it adds more to the Starscream character. The reason Starscream is not really in this so much is that it's about him. It's clearly supposed to be a Hot Rod story, Hot Rod and Wiz story. We inferred from this story and from the interviews on Lexicon and the other that Wiz Kid is meant to be the precursor to Windblade. And that she very much is the precursor to Windblade. If she didn't inspire the last character developments of that character, I wouldn't be surprised if she did. If it wasn't her, I don't know if it was her. Maybe they just took the idea and thought, "Oh, yeah, I'll just put our names on this." Her and Raksha was out of Night Racer. Yeah. Yeah. So there's two in there. If you want to know the claim to fame of the Kal Kat, if they had any Transformers that were based loosely on Kal Kat, we have a few, actually. Dropkick from the Bumblebee movie was definitely inspired by a Kal Kat character, very similar to Night Racer. Similar to Night Racer. But it wasn't Night Racer, it was Dropkick. Also, we have Beast Wars, we have Transmetal Dinobot, and Cheetor. The Cheetor Dinobot, Transmetal Cheetor. And of course, Mark Scar's Wolfang. Yeah. Yeah, but mostly during Beast Wars and Beast Machines. Also, we have these are characters that kind of were inspired. We're not saying they took the idea. We're saying they were inspired by stuff that they read of ours. And they made theirs based on that. Although that Dinobot one is clearly a thing because that was a contest. And, yeah. I did not get any royalty. And then Jim Tucon thought of the crab guy, Rampage. That guy too. So I thought I would mention Rampage. Very much was basically him. Also, Beast Machines is basically his idea. They turned into a story. But heavily edited, and of course no credit was given. But yeah. So Silver Paint idea was Sarah and Philip and other young people, young adults in the story. Also, the character of Alicon was definitely. Oh, that's another one. Alicon. Yeah, that's another one. That's G1. Yeah, or Alicon. Also, this guy. Well, this is a redo of him. This guy. G1 Misfire. Kal Kat character. Very much a Kal Kat character. Carta and Trans. 1986, 87. This is a good reproduction of him. This is the headmaster version of him. The redo of him. He was a target master originally in 81. This is the 2016 headmaster Titans return thing. We didn't show much. We didn't show any transformations. We didn't show any Titan head coming off or anything. You're fighting them. Very few of them in vehicle mode, just because we wanted, as Mark's cards pointed out upon watching some of it, we wanted a space soap opera about robots acting like people. And we didn't want to concentrate on their transforming and driving around, because that won't look good at all. Anytime, I know there's some very creative stop motion guys out there that have done the stop motion and done the 5-minute thing where they're flying around or doing stuff. We don't have that technology, so we didn't do it. So we were like, well, we can't really do that. We can't really have a stop motion thing, go motion thing going on. And also, we had the problem of the Grimlock. He was a central character to many of the stories. He was supposed to be the Beast Mix character in those other ones, the Dinobot Takeover one and the other one. But as you can see, this is a generation Power of the Prime's Grimlock, part of the Combiner Volcanicus, Volcanicus, and he's very short. He's not very tall. Next to the G1 generation guys and G2 ones, he's short. He's not the right size. So he said he's Little Grimlock. Of course, some of these stories have been done. We have said that Imgo, Ervin Gomez, the freaking geek as he calls himself, the Transformer reviewer, who does do all the transformation reviews. You can see all that stuff. He does that. If you want to watch his stuff, it's great. He did He did an anniversary episode of his show, where he did the Genesis Fading Memories of Transitions type of story. Took the transitions, Wrath thing idea and the Fading Memories idea, and he said, okay, let's have the Grimlocks, who were in charge of everything in the story, and we're having to have like a special episode, it's like an hour long or something. You watch that. Go online and watch it. It's awesome. The Grimlocks, different Grimlocks from different generations, kind of like Space Bridge, a little bit. Space Bridge was inspired by the Rebels story, Tim Cantrell, a number of other things. The Mush was inspired by themselves, as sort of a writing team. That's why their stories were similar, and they were rather easy to shoot. It started 11 months ago, a little over 11 months ago, shooting the story, and it just so happened that there was a pandemic and everybody's locked indoors. We couldn't have Mark's cards on the set, but we had the opportunity to let's just do Transformer episodes. And actually, there was a 3-month period where there was nothing. So you're wondering, when is it going to come back? In the fall there, come back, and yes, it did. They came back and did the rest. So we have a lot of short ones left. We have other ones left. Originally, and it didn't happen, there was going to be a Robotech. The Robotechs were going to be revealed originally to be, well, we didn't do this. They were going to be revealed to be actually Quintessons or something else disguised as them. But it wasn't really them, the whole episode. Decided that was too much like M. Night Shyamalan. He would do that. And then try to explain it with dialogue. And it was like, no, we don't want to do that. No, they are the Robotechs. That makes sense. We did change from the original MC Kim story, Jane Piedmont story ending, because it as Jane Piedmont, she wrote under a pseudonym. Because that ending had problems and referenced Beast Wars and stuff like that, so it would be directly into the Beast Wars second season of Trans Tech magazine. That ended up never being done. There was going to be I'm going to put all the Beast Wars episodes. We got a bunch of those. There's like 25 Beast Wars. There's a bunch of little Beast Wars episodes. We can't do them, really. Our Beast Wars figures have not stood up the test of time. They've released some new ones that are coming out, the Transformers Kingdom. But yeah, they have not held up. So yeah, they fall down immediately. Their joints are all loose. They have a lot of ball joint feet. They just go do the splits right there, and they fall over. And all of them, most of them are bad for that. Exclusively, so we're not going to use them. I think only Rat Trap and Cheetor and my ripoff of Tigertron. I don't think it is Tigertron. It's somebody else. And some of the other one, the Primal Prime and Optimus Primal, they're okay. But the Megatrons fell apart, literally. Especially the Transmetal Megatron, it fell apart. Head came off, wheel came off, wing came off. It's dead. It's dead. It's not coming back. They have made a new one, but well, yeah, I'm not gonna get them all just to do another one of the Beast Wars. The other stories would have to be retooled quite a bit to be used. I'm thinking more the lines of things blow over. We could do a special at some point, a couple months. We could do like a movie special with the cast from some of the other stories. Bring them together, cobble them together that they're similar, and do like a story. We're not gonna do Robotech Sentinels. I know the fans were what to do what two of them wanted to do was Macross Do You Remember Love, which is even more ambitious than doing this thing. No, we can't do that. It would not look good at all. How are we gonna pay that justice? It just can't be done. We can. A G.I. Joe thing would be cool, though, if they still stand up. A lot of them don't. They've worn out. They've been in the box too long. A lot of the Transformers didn't stand up too well. A lot of these guys just fell over and filmed it anyway. So, yeah, we had to have them back on the bridge at the end. Threw that in there. That was not in the script. Thought it would be funny. I thought Kichi to have them back on the bridge of the mothership at the very end and have it be all thrashed. Well, it did get ripped in half. So. And have, like, the front of it in space, basically. It's, like, gone. Because it is the middle of his chest, so it basically tore his legs off. And fucked up the front of the bridge. The front of the bridge is gone. They're looking out into space. It's literally gone. So... Yeah, fun experience doing the Transformers again. Doing the whole thing again. It's hard to believe that in 1990, 30 years ago was the dark ages of Transformers. And that for probably 3 years until when we started Galactic Guardians, it was still in the angst period. It was 1992, 93. Still in the angst period, but still the dark ages. So we were like beating up the Transformers constantly and doing horrible things to them. Carta as well. Carta 2, The Return in 94 as well. Breaking a bunch of them. Setting a bunch of dead ones on fire. Burning an Optimus Prime toy. We're the only ones that did it online. Only ones. For the longest time. I think there might be one other, but we were first. Ours is first. That footage is from 1994. That's first. Definitely. We had to change out the audio and had Clint Cowpoke do the audio. That's where we got the idea for the cowboy guy. He was originally supposed to be Johnny Bravo, but he ended up being more like Clint Cowpoke. And now he actually talks. So, oh well. Also, we kind of thought it would be fun to not only honor the Me Too movement, but also try our best to annoy the alt-right people and all of the alt-right woke people, all the snowflakes, by having the women characters be strong and powerful and Mary Sue's throughout the story. And they were anyway, so I don't know if they got mad, but it's funny that we were able to pull that off. And we also had, they probably have hyper-evangelicals mad about, like, how dare you put a gay robot in there? But the thing is that on the channel, there are a bunch of them, actually. The thing about the channel is that, you have a YouTube channel. You don't necessarily need to, put the negative comments in there. Delete them. And show it. So it's like, even if you got a lot of followers, it's like, I don't know why they don't. It's just going through the channel thing and go like, okay, this guy just says my video sucks a million times. I'll delete him. Get rid of that guy. Doesn't mean your video sucks. It means that guy sucks.
Yeah, so this story was probably inspired by some sort of relationship that went sour. Maybe somebody she knew, I don't know. But it does seem an awful lot like it's actual, like, psychologically. It seems like it's like this person was on point about this character and then lost her and then got her back or something and didn't need to finish it. But we finished it, and I hope we paid homage to it enough that we didn't screw it up, or Kal Kat didn't screw it up, because I don't think we did. I think we did all right. I think it's still girl power at the end. It's still, even though the brutish bad guy shoots the enemy dude, who was doomed anyway. But he didn't help her. He just did it on his own. Yeah. So the ending explained is that, Max's Carta is the other guys. There's some neat Easter eggs too. Like the Max's Carta and Max Sterling, maybe the where they got the idea for Maximals. We know where they got the idea for Predacons from Predaking, but they got the idea for Maximals from Max's Carta, from the Carta, from the 90s, from us, the Carta, the robots on the cheap, from us. Yes, they should give us royalties for all base work. No, they're not going to do that. But yeah, oh shit. Now, if they had a raccoon or fox like Mark Scar's character, then it would have totally been. I don't think they did have a raccoon. I don't think so. The Japanese one. They had a rabbit. We need a space bunny. You watch the Space Bunny stuff. Space Bunny. Yeah, it's not for kids. It clearly is not. So, yeah, although the young adults that clearly put this together back in the day were not kids either, but mentally maybe. But yeah, it was fun. I'll have to do like a convention thing, another Atabacon. It's been a while since there's been an Atabacon new convention, and we could do one and discuss the whole thing again, the whole saga after we render this thing. Put this thing as render it, get it out there by the 18th. I guess it's the 16th now. The 18th or 19th, it was an easy shoot. Even though we're a day late, it was only an easy shoot. The script came out to 141 pages, not 148. Whereas we reshot literally the last 20 and did them completely. Well, didn't reshoot them. We didn't use the script, the last 20 pages. Which would have translated to about 10 minutes, probably. It's not really that long. And then added all the goofy endings and stuff, because we figured it'll be enough for everybody to enjoy. Things going in and out and whatever. Here's an ending that seems like a good place to end it. Here's an ending that seems like a good place to end it. Here's another one, so you can take your pick. You can say, shut it off at 110 minutes. That's the ending I liked. I'll shut it off at 120 minutes. Let's just see all the endings. Why not? No. I don't know how long it is, but yeah, and just so it's clarified, Red Wing is a future version of Night Racer. Oh, not Night Racer. Red Wing is Red Wing, but she's very Mark's cards looking. Red Wing is a future version of Wiz. It's Wiz. It's Windblade. It's Wiz. So when she solves the thing at the end, the other version of her no longer has to carry out the timeline. So she goes, and the other one replaces her. So that's what's going on right there. And Springer disappearing didn't disappear entirely. He just disappeared into wherever he was previously. He's fine. Everybody's fine that disappeared. There was also a plan to briefly include Devastator, but we felt that if that wasn't in the script, and we felt that, well, that's too much. We've got 45, 50 guys in this movie. Probably not throwing in Constructicons as well and having them fight the guy would be just a little too much. So well, we have Tripticon and we have the other guys. Let's just have them do something. And just to reference, just so I know there's going to be nitpicky fans, so I had to get Megatron come in and say, well, I did send Devastator, but he was really badly injured and he couldn't come to the end of the battle. Okay. Anyway, so yes, and the gag at the end, of course, when they never transform. He said it again. He's like, "Oh no, it didn't transform again." Yes, they never transform because it's not about the bots; it's about the journey. And I did not play anybody on Netflix version. Ew. There is a character similar to me in the Bumblebee movie, but it's not me. There's also, I guess, also on that show I didn't really watch too much of, which was the that Cyberverse, and then that other Bumblebee show spin-off. I don't really watch that either. After Prime, yeah, Transformers Prime, clang. Transformers not really Prime. Prime would be G1. These are a combination of characters from different things. This is a Generations Sandstorm. His head is turned the other way. He played the stoner dude. Dude. Here we have Generations Ultra Magnus. Oh, I tried to make him sound a little bit like Robert Stack, because I thought that would be funny. Reference to G1 and everything. Yes. But he kind of sounds a little bit like Springer and Rod, too, so I'd like to lessen that a little bit. Also, Springer at times has to have more of an eloquent voice and a risply Batman voice. Because if he gets too raspy, then you can't understand him, and he becomes Bane. Then it becomes impossible to understand. Yes, we didn't want to do that. So, yes, we have Alicon. Now, Alicon is double dealer colored, but she's a G1 Blitzwing Alicon repaint. There's another Alicon that just came out with a Studio Series Alicon. Earthrise. It's not an Earthrise. I think it's Studio Series. And it's coming out. An Alicon. So yeah, we're still around. If they come out with a Windblade and a Night Racer, another Windblade and another Night Racer, that'll be awesome. Do that, Hasbro. Do that. Also, that Transmetal. Sure, why not? Here we have one of the now expensive Target jets. Yeah. Little guns keep falling off. Tetra jets. No, here we have Battleship, who is actually Broadside. Titan Master Broadside. He was always too small too. There was this mass shifting deal going on. This thing should be gigantic. It should be the size of an aircraft carrier. It should be as big as Metroplex. Anyways, enough of showing you off the toys. I'm gonna end it right here because it'll be time to transform your day into an adventure. Now it is over. For now. Ha 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 ha! Autobots, transform and roll out! We're not trying to escape. We're trying to prevent Skylights from going berserk, changing our destiny. Damn it. We're not cutting and running. We're trying to stop Skylinks from going berserk, change your destiny. We're not cutting and running. We're trying to stop Skylinks from going berserk and change your destiny. We're not cutting and running. We're trying to stop Skylinks from going berserk and change your destiny. We're not cutting and running. We're trying to stop Skylinks from going berserk and change your destiny. Technically, that's not quite correct. Stop that! No!